Right.
Would you join me for the flag salute?
All under that way.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, help us to be receptive to the thoughts and challenges that come to us through prayer, through the printed page, and from the world around us, and help our leaders to find the best solutions to the problems that we face. We ask this in your name. Amen. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Also pursuant to the 2014 bylaws and regulations of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington, time shall be set aside on the agenda for the receipt of public comments. Public comments will be received with respect to agenda items prior to board consideration of resolutions to be adopted. An additional opportunity for public comment will occur later in the meeting. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Unused time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons may speak once per public comment period. I direct the Deputy Clerk to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement, and the advance written notice of this meeting. Freeholder Bellegarde.
Here.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Here.
Freeholder Howard.
Here.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Here.
And Director Sargent.
Here. At this point, I'll look for a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November the 12th and the conference meeting minutes of October 22nd. So, motion by Freeholder Howard, second.
Second.
Freeholder Bellegarde. Questions or additions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And I need to abstain from the conference of October 22nd.
As then we'll move on to item F, would be the proclamation for pancreatic cancer awareness. Freeholder Schwartz.
Gary, let me just, before the proclamation, speak a little bit about why you're here to get this proclamation.
My name is Gary Hammond. My cousin Dale passed away from pancreatic cancer. Joanne Schwartz also shared a story of her aunt passing away. It's a horrible disease, as all cancers are. And I really thank you. Our goal was always to get all 21 counties. This year we achieved that. And my cousin's daughter asked me to pick up Burlington. And I really appreciate your assistance, Joanne, and the entire Freeholder Board. Appreciate it, and thank you very much, and I wish you all a very nice Thanksgiving.
And this is pancreatic cancer month.
Yes,
So
November.
So this is in recognition of that. This is a proclamation recognizing that pancreatic cancer remains one of the most deadly forms of cancer. It claims roughly 38,000 lives. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, but just so you know, one of the problems with pancreatic cancer is by the time you have symptoms, it's pretty much almost too late.
It is.
So early detection, as with all cancers, is important. But with pancreatic cancer, it's an especially virulent form of cancer. And Gary, and the work that he's been doing, hopefully will make it so that one day we will be cured.
Absolutely.
So there's a proclamation. Thank you for
very
bringing this to our
much. All right.
attention.
Thank you.
Now we got it.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We'll move on to item G. We have a public hearing. Paul, would you like to? Congratulations for reading this.
Yes, thank you. An ordinance number 2014-00529 of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington, New Jersey, authorizing and approving the entering into, execution, and delivery of one or more improvement lease agreements and equipment lease agreements, each by and between the county and the Burlington County Bridge Commission, providing for the financing of the cost of design, acquisition, construction, and installation of certain capital infrastructure improvements, and acquisition and installation of certain capital equipment in, by, and for the county as set forth in the 2014 capital budget of the county, appropriating not to exceed $48,500,000. Therefore, including an appropriation of $8,562 in state and federal grants, and authorizing other necessary action in connection with said funds.
At this point, I'll open up the public hearing on this. There are several different areas that you'll get a chance to comment. This is going to be on just this one item, then we'll have 2 different places for public comment as we move forward. So does anyone have anything they'd like to say about this issue, ordinance 2014-00529? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and look for a motion to adopt. So, motion by Freeholder Howard, second. Second by Freeholder Donnelly. Questions? Roll call.
Freeholder Belvoir.
Yes.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Yes.
Freeholder Howard.
Yes.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Yes.
And Director Dognan.
Yes. We'll move on to public comment on agenda items. This will be our first public portion. It'll be on agenda items, and then what we will do is, after the, at the end, we'll have another area where you can discuss any type of topics you'd like to deal with. Steve Stern.
Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to comment on items J through M.
I'm just going to need a name and address.
Steve Stern from Mount Laurel.
Thanks.
Items J through M, nomination and election for various boards and commissions. It seems to me that the public would be better served if the process of nomination were separate from the process of election. We're going to hear some names today, I assume, that nobody knows about. Nothing has been vetted by the outside, either by the citizens or by the press. And it would be better, I think, and more transparent if, when we nominate people to these various boards and commissions, that we put the nominations on the table at one meeting and we do the election at another meeting. Now, just because it's always been done this way doesn't make it right. I think it would be good if we just kind of separated that process. In particular, and there are going to be others here, I'm sure, commenting on item L, the nominee for the Pinelands Commission, and they will speak more eloquently than I can, but based on the reports of the Burlington County Times, it looks like we're going to appoint someone who's already been on the commission, who has already voted for a pipeline through the Pinelands, and to me that would be a disqualifier. The Pinelands is a treasure of this state. It needs to remain pristine. We've been chipping away at it with development little by little, and I think that's got to stop. We can talk all we want about the safety of the pipeline, but accidents do happen. There's a water supply there that people depend on, and we, the taxpayers, are going to end up being the ones that pay for any spill or cleanup that occurs. And it may not occur for 50 years, and we may not be the ones responsible for paying for those types of cleanups or remediation, but our children are. I don't think that's the kind of legacy we need to leave to our children. So I would urge the Freeholder Board to carefully consider the type of person and the background of who they're appointing to this commission. So with that, I want to wish everyone here a happy Thanksgiving, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Hal Feijunder? I probably made a mess of that. I'm sorry.
I'm 2210 Craig Drive, Kingsport. I'd like to reserve my comments then for the section of public comments.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Bill Wolf?
Good morning. My name is Bill Wolf. I'm from Bordentown. I would reiterate some of the prior speakers' points about the process for how you're going to select, making it a two-step process so the nominees' credentials and knowledge and experience can be evaluated. It's a critically important post to the Pinelands Commission. So that's the kind of process point I'd like to make. And as a citizen, I think it's my job, and as a supporter of the Pinelands, to be able to evaluate the credentials of the nominee and express an informed opinion on that. And without any ability to do that, I can't express an informed opinion. And I don't think you can hear an informed opinion and make a deliberative choice as to whether the nominee is appropriate or not. So that's unfair to me as a citizen and all the rest of the public. It's unfair to you as a Freeholder Board, and it's unfair to whoever the nominee is selected, because they're going to be tarred and feathered as the product of a process that wasn't transparent and participatory. So the process is important. The second point I'd like to make is on the substance. There's a raging debate, as I'm sure you're all aware, about the South Jersey gas pipelines in the Pinelands. And that has been present at all levels of government for over a year now. And there's been some very hardball, nasty politics played in how that issue has been considered. And there have been extraordinary things done that haven't been done before. The governor's office intervening with the attorney general's office to get a Pinelands commissioner disqualified on a recusal for a conflict that was tenuous at best. Long-standing commissioner reappointed by Cumberland, not reappointed, replaced by Cumberland County for no apparent reason other than retaliation for a no vote on the pipeline. And she's been on record saying that she feels it was retaliatory. These things are nasty, and I don't think you want to be part of that. I think you want to bend over backwards to say you're not. And it's more than a process issue. It's the question of, this gentleman used the word disqualification, and a vote in support of that should disqualify somebody for further service on the commission, because the vote went to compliance with the comprehensive management plan and whether the Pinelands Commission was an independent body that was immune from political pressures. There was enormous political pressures brought on the Pinelands Commission to approve that pipeline, and they held firm, and there were 7 votes opposed to that pipeline that enforced the comprehensive management plan. And we have to see this, the residents and citizens have to see that government works on the merits and not on the politics. So with all that swirling around this particular debate, I'd urge you to go slow and give the public a shot at reviewing the qualifications and assuring that a nominee that you put up there has real land use planning qualifications that would fit the Pinelands. And to go take that even step further, that as a freeholder board, you make this frankly a litmus test and express a policy on the issue of the Pinelands pipeline. That's because you're going to be brought into the debate whether you want to be in it or not. And that would be my recommendations to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Sidney Richards.
Morning, everyone. I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
My name is Sidney Richards. I've been a proud resident of Tabernacle since 1978. I'd like to speak on item L, as many others will here today. In 1978, as we know, going back in time, that was the year in which former Congressman James Florio, as well as former Governor James Florio, in his position, was able to put through the Pinelands Preservation Act. So that year was very important to me, both as a resident and as someone who's raised in a family in beautiful Pinelands. I've enjoyed being here all these years, and I've recently, well, not so recent, with the pipeline issue, I've been attending Pinelands Commission meetings. I've also started coming to Freeholder meetings, where I've been very impressed with your openness, your willingness to reach a consensus and to thoroughly review all issues. I would like to reinforce and reiterate what others have said, that I think it would be very important, particularly for this Pinelands Commissioner's position, to separate both the nomination and the election so that the public has an opportunity to respond and evaluate. I am here to speak in favor of Mr. Arnold Fishman Esquire. I believe all of you have received his resume. He has been a resident of Medford Lake since 1975. He has had a distinguished law career, and unfortunately he was not able to come today because he is in court. You may remember on May 28th at your meeting, both Temma Fishman and Arnold Fishman addressed you. Temma with an eloquent request to preserve the Pinelands, to make sure that your nominee would be in compliance with the comprehensive management plan. And at that point, Mr. Fishman was able to describe exactly the composition of the Pinelands Commission, as well as who was appointed and what their terms are. And at that point, I think it's possible that maybe you were aware that your commissioner's term was expiring in June. Between June and now, there have been people who were interested in that position, but as we all know, this is a very emotional, political, and important issue for the quality of our life here, as well as the future. So I, once again, greatly appreciate your opportunity to let me speak this morning, And also, I would like to put forward for nomination with your cooperation and on position. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paul Bracy?
Glad to see so many folks out today. Hope you continue to come. I've dealt with this issue in an open forum, as these members know, for the last 3 years easily. You have an opportunity to do something today. The fact that you have a member that recommended someone who was a longtime giant within the Burlington County Republican Party and the state of New Jersey Republican Party and is opining shows that Freeholder Sports is not coming from a political place. I've argued for the longest time that this body is too political in nature. I have argued for the longest time that appointments to boards need to be more open, need to include a resume, need to include a presentation before board action. I've been chastised by sides of this board for these very principles. Candidly, a lot of it has to do with my spastic mannerisms and my emotionalism. But the argument has always been sound. Tonight, you have an opportunity to do what I have been pleading for, and that is to allow the people of Burlington County to be heard. The fact that you have a 7-7 split at this point, and the fact that you have a prior member that has already taken a position, and the fact that this prior member, and let's be honest about it, is well entrenched within the Burlington County Republican Party, you need to step up and do what I've been boldly clamoring for quite some time, and separate politics and address relevant issues on the basis of their merit. The simple, long and short of this is, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman needs to be disqualified. This action needs to be tabled. I cannot, and residents of this county, if you get off of my look and start hearing what I say, the people need to be heard. Past practice does not guarantee continuation. Honestly, what the kind lady just said was a farce. This board does not adequately address ideas, or we would have an open agenda. Please don't tell me because it was done back in the day, the party in power sets the agenda. I knew personally many of the freeholders back in the day, and I can tell you, the 3-2 Republican, Democrat, GOP, Burlington County Board of Chosen Freeholders has existed for years. The difference is, and I say this with respect, at times when I have been disrespectful to this body, you do not have the same open dialogue. You have allowed your pay-to-play contributors, your vested interests, to impact the voice of reason. You have a golden opportunity today to, one, table any future action. Dispense from the political nature. I have no problem with the time frame. Dispense from the political nature. 2, past practice must be changed. It is imperative that you allow the public. I don't know where you've been. I don't know why you chose not to support my candidacy for freeholder. That's your decision. But what I do know is you need to provide the public with an opportunity to come out like today and share their sentiments on the upside or downside before you formally take any action. Part of the problem in Ferguson, Missouri is a lot of minorities were excluded from the process. Please do not continue to exclude Burlington County residents. And this resident that often doesn't present himself well from the process. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Carlton, Montgomery? No, I'm a lefty and I write, I can work it out, it just takes a second or two.
I'm Carlton Montgomery. I live in Medford, but I'm representing the Pinelands Preservation Alliance today. We're based in Southampton. We have some of the same concerns that people have raised here. Process-wise, I understand that the topic first came up last July when there was discussion of nominating Garfield DeMarco, which was a really interesting idea at the time, given his history with the Pinelands. But then it disappeared. So when it appears on Monday for a meeting during the day, on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, it gives the appearance, at a minimum, that you do not take seriously the importance of this decision. And perhaps that you really were interested in not having it become a big deal and having public participation on the large scale. So it's impossible for us on the outside to draw any other inference. And I hope that in the course of dealing with this, you prove that we were wrong about that. Second, the failure, in fact, the refusal to disclose who was being considered, given that I'm sure you have some people in mind, at least some of you have some people in mind. Other counties have put people on agendas when they were going to be voted on ahead of the vote. It's certainly doable, and it gives people a much better opportunity, especially if you're not doing a two-step process where you have a nomination, discussion, and then a vote on separate readings. But finally, the inference seems to be, or the assumption seems to be that you are likely to reappoint or seek to reappoint Sean Erlin. And for all of his virtues, Sean Erlin is not a champion of the Pinelands. Burlington County deserves a champion of the Pinelands, someone who is known to be a believer in the smart growth principles that are embedded in this plan, where we get the benefit of the water resources, the cleaning of the air, all the things that the forest provides for us, while focusing development, investment, and energies into established communities. That's the Pinelands concept. That's what your representative, our representative on the Pinelands Commission should be out there doing. And Mr. Erlin has not been doing that. I think that whatever you do today, I hope that you will send a message that you expect Burlington County's representative on the Pinelands to be an affirmative champion, not someone who just shows up and votes the way he was told to. And I'm afraid that's what happened in this case. There was tremendous pressure in the pipeline case put on people by the political machine. Some of them bucked that pressure, and now the governor wants to take them off the commission. Others did not. The pipeline issue also is just one big controversy in a process that takes place over years. The Pinelands Plan is 35 years old this year. The Pinelands Protection Act of 1979. Every year there are issues, large and small, that require consistent, steadfast application of the Pinelands Plan to every case that comes before them. Whether the applicant be a smaller business, or a smaller local builder, or a company like South Jersey Gas that wields enormous influence, or say Walmart that also exercises enormous influence. And our representative should be someone who is out there saying, whatever we do, we're going to apply the plan consistently in an even-handed fashion so that everybody, big or small, knows what the rules are and how they can follow them. So I really hope you'll do that today. I hope that you'll put off a vote and consider Mr. Fishman, who does have a history of being an advocate for the Pinelands. Again, whatever you do, send a message that you expect our representative to be a champion. Thanks.
Thank you. Doug O'Malley.
Good morning. My name is Doug O'Malley. I'm the director with Environment New Jersey. We represent 20,000 citizen members across this great state, and we're based out of Trenton. And I want to start off by wishing a happy Thanksgiving to the members of the Freeholder Board. Obviously, happy Thanksgiving to all of the audience, members who attended, who clearly probably have responsibilities at home. And quite frankly, the reason why I think a lot of us are here today is because the Pinelands deserves more. The Pinelands Commission is an independent body that has a tremendous task ahead of it. And the pipeline debate is perhaps the biggest controversy that has faced the Pinelands in its history. Clearly, the Pinelands is more than just a county park. It's a state and national treasure. It's the largest undeveloped area in the Everglades in Maine. As Carlton just mentioned, it's over 35 years old. It's the first national reserve. And then this process of nominating a member to represent Burlington County really is a tricky, because even in Trenton, when you walk into the room, you know not only what's on the agenda, but who's on the agenda. And the fact that this agenda, is coy, it does not even reference whether Mr. Erlin's being renominated or whether a new individual is nominated, really it's bad governance. And I would strongly recommend that this Freeholder Board recommend that this issue be tabled for a number of reasons. Some of them have been referenced, including the fact that Ocean County and Cumberland County have recently gone through a similar process, and they had a public process behind it, and they gave adequate public notice for people to come out. I think it's quite a testament to the fact that you have a relatively full room on Thanksgiving Eve when people don't even know who the nominee is. I think it's also critical for the Freeholder Board to examine the process around the nominees around the governor. The governor's nominees were nominated in the spring. They were heard in a hearing in October. That hearing was publicly announced at the State House. The attendance for the hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee was big. And it was because you had such an interest from all around the state, but especially South Jersey, including Burlington County, of who was going to be nominated. And then those nominees, their record, as it were, was publicly available. And senators were given the chance to question those nominees on how they were appointed, what the positions were on the panel, what their expertise was. And it was really democracy in action, because those nominees, quite frankly, were unqualified for that position. And those nominees got a intense round of questioning from senators. And it became very clear that, unlike most votes in Trenton, this vote was held. And that was because these nominees didn't fit the bar. That's really how, regardless of what you think of those nominees, that's really how this democracy should work. And when we think about the process around the pipeline itself, an incredibly contentious debate, the Pinellas Commission allowed unprecedented public comment and notice through its regular meetings and its regular committee hearings. The Pinellas Commissioners listened week after week after week from supporters and opponents of the pipeline. And then most pertinently, when the MOA was officially announced, ironically, a year ago today, the eve of Thanksgiving, there was public notice for a hearing. That hearing, quite frankly, there should have been multiple hearings. That hearing was out in Atlantic County, far from Burlington, quite a ride. That hearing started at 5 o'clock, and to the Pinellas Commission's credit, the Pinellas Commission allowed the public to comment. There was not a deadline set. The room was packed with hundreds of people, supporters and both opponents. So when we kind of look at the record of the commission around this debate, it pales in comparison to what we're dealing with right now. And that's why I strongly encourage the board. You obviously have a lot of issues on your agenda for today, but this is an incredibly critical one. And as much as you understand that the process is going forward, we do not. And the public deserves more. So quite frankly, again, I urge you to table this nomination. Carlton mentioned some of the other issues that the Pinellas Commission is facing. I think one of, he referenced this a little bit, the Pinellas Commission is meant to be independent. And there were nominees that voted, against the governor, who were nominated by the governor. And I think that speaks incredibly highly to the integrity that commissioners take with this position. And part of the reason, of course, is that they took on a lot of responsibility, and they treated that process with integrity. And really, I'd ask this Freeholder Board to treat the commission and that process with the same integrity. Please table this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sharon Christensen.
Sharon Christensen, Tabernacle. I'm a resident of Pinelands. Although the pipeline will not be going near my house, there's a concern that once you open the door, who knows how many other attempts will be made. We have a great concern of fire in the Pinelands. We don't have fire hydrants that puts fires out. And came today because of the secrecy the unwillingness of the freeholders to give the information on who's being nominated for this position. And we need the information and some discussion. I hope you postpone the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Ronnie Dietrich?
Hi,
Hello.
I live at 141 4 Mile. Hi, I live at 141 4 Mile Road in Lisbon, New Jersey, for the last 35 years, which is smack in the Pineland. I feel extremely embarrassed that the process is proceeding the way it has. As a Burlington County resident who has really felt that the freeholders have helped me personally in the past, after my 25 years of working at Buttonwood. I really am hopeful that you'll hear the people here today asking for a postponement and a look at the process. I hope that you take the time to go into the Pines this week and be there and dwell there and think about it from being in the Pine Barrens instead of inside. I think that when you spend time in the Pine Barrens, it changes you, and I think that it's an enormously important thing.
Thank you. That's all we have that have signed up. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say about our agenda items? Please.
Hi, my name is Becky Free. I live in beautiful Bordentown City. And thank you very much for all that you do to make sure the county operates smoothly. My husband is a farmer, and so all of the work that's been done to preserve open space and farmland in Burlington County is also very important to us. I have two little boys, ages 5 and 7, and we spend a lot of time outside. The Pinelands are so important. As a resident, the first gentleman who spoke, it would be wonderful to see all commission nomination, the whole process, regardless if it's Pinelands or other commissions, separate, so the public understands who's proposed, and the public understands when the vote comes, and then the public can participate. That's transparency, clear, true, and simple, and that's what we need to have. And so I very much hope today that there's a move to change how things have been done and make it a more proactive process going forward. It's only going to get more complicated in this state as we get more and more crowded. These issues are going to become more and more complicated. And the Pinelands is such a treasure. The idea that somebody could be proposed for nomination for this or any other commission and voted on today, when my empathy goes to commissioners freeholders who want to have the opportunity to truly understand what that nominee represents. So I hope you'll consider that today, and thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll close the public comments section, our first public comment section, and we'll move on to resolutions. I'd like to make a motion to approve items 1 through 16 by unanimous consent. Second. Motion by Gargano, second by Howard. Questions?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay, so on number 1, I have some questions on the bills. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay. So on page 16, Camden County College, I need to recuse myself. Page 17 through 21, Cape Heart and Scatcherd, there's a total of $236,712.97 for various fees. Do you have those bills for me? Okay, great. I'll take a look at those afterwards, but I did have a question with regard to one of the abbreviations related to those. I'm not sure if it's spec fees or SPEC fees. What does that entry mean on the bill list?
I believe that's stands for special fees.
Just special fees, yes. All right. Page 53, Lippincott and Jacobs. There's an entry for $2,075.22. Where it's just noted various capital improvements. Can you tell me what those are?
Yes, Freeholders is engineering services for the culvert at the Sioux Lake Dam on D5-141.
Okay. And then the last one is page 55. There's an entry for $500 for MailChimp. Can you tell me what that is for?
MailChimp is a email delivery service that we use to send out publications and notifications. It's a easy mass mailing way that we do it.
So, like what type of, is there an example of what type of mass emails we're sending?
For example, when folks sign up on our website for updates on recycling,
Okay.
that would be part of that company.
Okay. That's all I have on the bills.
Okay. Any other items?
On number 6, I need to recuse myself from that one. That's all I have on number 16.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
And just the recusals as I noted.
That's noted.
Thank you.
Then we'll move on to Freehold Delaware.
I would like to make a motion for Resolution 17.
Second. Motion by Freeholder Beauregard, second by Freeholder Donnelly. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Freeholder Donnelly.
Thank you, Director. This time I would move for unanimous consent of resolution items numbered I-18 through I-22.
Second. Motion by Freeholder Donnelly, second by Freeholder Howard. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Freeholder Howard.
Thank you, Director. At this time, I'd like to move unanimous consent. Resolutions I-23 to I-40.
Motion by Freeholder Howard, second.
Second.
Freeholder Beauregard. Questions?
Yes, so we're just going to seek further explanation, mostly for the public, because I know we've talked about this in conference, explanation of numbers 27, 30, and 38. 27 was a need for additional engineering services, 30 was an amendment, and 38 was a change order.
7. Joseph?
Yes, the first one is item number 27. That is an agreement we went into with the local association to complete mutual repairs to that dam. And through an emergency situation that we had out there, we were forced to do some repairs, not under normal design and bid configuration. We had to go out and do them as emergency, which is the reason for the amendment.
Thank you.
30.
Item 30 is the First Amendment, which I believe the solicitor explained. It's not really a change order or contract. It's basically a first authorization. And Concord is doing the engineering services for the HVAC and roof repairs to the public safety building.
And that's actually why I wanted the clarification, is because it's not really
It's not a
an
true amendment, and
Yeah.
we will be correcting that process going into next year.
I just always like to have it clear on the record.
Third, Jerome.
Yes, the Ender Construction contractor is working on the single stream project, Hancock Lane. This change order for additional sprinkler heads for the building, for public employee safety, as well as adequately protect the county residents.
And we're still on track time-wise, right?
Timeline, yes, we are.
Those are all the questions I have. Thank you.
Any other? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We'll move on to nomination and elections for the Burlington County Board of Social Services. Do I have any names that would like to be put in the nomination?
Director, this time I'd like to nominate Marlene Chass and Lynn Hughes for a term of 5 years.
Do we have any other nominations?
Yes, first though, if I may, I know we heard good public comment on this. I think that there is cause for concern. I was not aware that these nominations were on the agenda until late Monday afternoon. And I think that the public is right in noting that this is a process that should be open and transparent. So at this point, I would like to make a motion to table each of the nominations and elections, I guess J through M, so that we can have more time to obtain interested nominees and properly vet and review any folks that are interested in holding one of these positions.
All right, we have a motion to table, which does not need a second. We will have a roll call on the motion to table.
Freeholder Belmar.
Yes.
Freeholder Donnelly.
No.
Freeholder Howard.
No.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Yes.
And Director Gargano.
No.
In that case, I would like to put forth another name for the Board of Social Services. I agree with the nomination of Marlene Jash. She's a reappointment. I've seen Marlene in action, and I know that she works hard. I would also like to, in addition to Marlene, nominate Rowena Overton. I was able to obtain Rowena's resume, and I forwarded it last night. Hopefully everybody got a copy of it, but just by way of background, like Marlene Jass, Rowena is currently a councilwoman in the town she lives in East Hampton. She's actually going to be coming out of her seat come the end of December. She works as a case manager for the John O. Wilson Hamilton Neighborhood Center, which services children, families, seniors. She's also a board member at the Burlington County Community Action Program and chairs their Planning and Strategic Committee. She's clearly got the background relating to social services, and I would put forth her name as a nominee.
Thank you. Any other? Have a roll call, please vote by name. Vote for two if you like, or one.
Freeholder Belmar.
Marlene Jass and Rowena Overton.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Marlene Jass and Linda Hughes.
Freeholder Howard.
Jason Hughes.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Jason Overton.
And Director Gargano.
Jason Hughes. At this point, we'll move on the nomination to the Burlington County Library Commission.
Director, at this time, I'd like to place in consideration the name of Betsy Kapolsky.
Do we have any other? Hearing none, we got roll call. I guess yes would be for Kapolsky.
Freeholder Belmar.
Yes, as to Kapolsky, with my note that this is over my objection to first have the issue tabled so that further consideration can be given.
As noted.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Kapolsky.
Freeholder Howard.
Kapolsky.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Kapolsky.
And the Director Gargano.
Kapolsky. We'll move on to nomination and election to the Finance Commission.
Yes, Director, at this time, I'd like to place in consideration the name of Sean Carter.
Do we have any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to place into consideration the name of Arnold Fishman.
Any other?
I would just, again, like to note my objection. I have not received a resume or CV or any biographical information as to Sean Erlin. Unlike some of the other nominees who are being put forward today, which I did receive resumes for yesterday afternoon, Sean Erlin's I have never seen, and it's for this reason that I would like to have seen this tabled. For nothing else, just to obtain and review a copy of his CV or resume.
Any other comments?
Yes, I'd like to add that beginning on Monday, Amy and I asked for the name of the person who's going to be appointed to the Finance Commission. We did not receive that. However, late yesterday, we did receive an email that listed the names that have just been put forth, and the answer in regards to the Pinelands and the other news was that the people who are already sitting there would be reappointed. So I took that to mean that Mr. Erlin's name would be put forth. However, this is the first time I am publicly or privately hearing his name. As a freeholder, as a citizen of the United States, as a resident of the Pinelands, I have a problem with this process.
This time I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Pinelands nomination and election.
And I would second that.
Proper motion.
Or to table, I'm sorry.
Motion to table.
I'm using such courtroom terminology. Table.
Respectfully, Mr. Director, the motion has already been made and decided. I think the vote is appropriate at this time.
It's general motion, it's specific.
Roll call.
Point of order.
Freeholder Belmar.
We're voting yes to table or no to no.
Freeholder Belmar.
Yes.
Freeholder Donnelly.
No.
Freeholder Howard.
No.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Yes.
And Director Gargano.
No. All right, I have two names in nomination.
If I may.
No.
Director, in terms of process, we worked well, you weren't here, correct? You weren't last year, it was the process for appointees. It was agreed by the board at the time that before any appointee was made, there would be 30 days notice to the freeholder board. The freeholder board wasn't afforded that same option on July 9th when Mr. DeMarco's name was placed into nomination.
That's not true. I gave you the names, I gave it to you, and I gave you
Let him
30
finish
days.
his, and if you'd like to comment, you're more than welcome to.
I stand by what I said. This board did not have it in advance. We received the nomination on the floor. And to say that none of us has ever heard of the nominee being reconsidered is disingenuous at best, in that Mr. Fishman spoke specifically about Mr. Erlin at, I believe, the May meeting and certainly at the July 9th meeting. So either we weren't paying attention or I can't explain why. I don't believe, and actually a lot of people have spoken pretty passionately today, largely on one side of this, that you can legitimately speak in favor of people that have bucked the system and or bucked the governor and voted against your endeared issue, yet someone that votes for it is automatically disqualified from service. I've known Mr. Erlin for a number of years. He is attentive. I find him to be thoughtful to the needs of the Pinelands. As a result of that, I place his name into consideration today. This board will decide. But this nomination, the consideration for this nomination, quite frankly, has been put out there since it was placed on the agenda, moved onto the agenda on July 9th.
So I just want to clarify, I'm sure Joanne will as well. When, on July 9th, Joanne mentioned the name of Carl DeMarco, she did it for the purpose of giving a 30-day notice. She said that down the line, after 30 days had passed, she would be putting forth that name as a nominee.
She nominated him that night. There was a motion put on the floor that night. I checked the record this morning.
I don't think that motion passed.
It did not pass, but it was placed on the agenda.
We tabled that night.
So, I would also
10
say
meetings ago. It was 10 meetings ago.
that the argument with regard to Mr. Erlin is disingenuous and false, because the person who mentioned Mr. Erlin's name is not a member of this board. It was a member of the public, Mr. Fishman. I have never heard a member of this board say that Mr. Erlin's name is being put forth as a nominee. In fact, when I spoke to the county office yesterday afternoon to find out, I spoke to Eric to find out who the nominees were. I was told that he didn't know the names at that point. I sent an email both to the Freeholder Director and to Mr. Drayton to obtain the nominees for each of these nominations and to obtain resumes for each. I have never received Mr. Erlin's resume. I have never heard his name as a potential nominee until this meeting. And I think that that's a problem with the process. I think it's broken. I think it's not transparent. And I think that's a problem, and the public has every right to be upset about it.
I'll just comment that I think when we actually started this process back in July, there was conversation on Mr. Erlin. I think the sheets that we probably have in front of us tonight, they were on those sheets then too. And to sit back and to say that a sitting individual shouldn't be considered for that position, I think you're wrong. I think I have to agree with Mrs. Donnelly, our Freeholder Donnelly, is that my dealings with Sean is that he'll take the facts that are put before him and he'll make a decision on the merits of the case. And I think he'll continue to do that. Now, granted, there's a time at every level we're at in government that you're going to agree with the decisions that are made and you're not going to agree with the decisions that are made. And that's part of the process that we have in this country. But to sit back and to say that no one's ever heard of this guy who's been sitting there and I think was all over the press through this entire process, it's sort of ingenuous.
I am all for agreeing or disagreeing, but we need a transparent process, and that is absolutely lacking here. Mr. Erlin's name was never put forward. We never had a piece of paper with his name on it. The only reason the Pinelands reappointment even came up was because Joanne brought it up. She brought up one name at that meeting. No other name was brought up by any member of this Freeholder board. And the broken process is what I have a problem with. So I can't vote yes to somebody whose name or whose credentials I haven't even seen. That's a problem.
Any other?
Yeah, well, just one comment on this is that in the beginning when we started, about the Board of Social Services and the freeholders talking about a broken process, she's part of the broken process. Because we got an email last night of somebody who she wanted to come on to the Board of Social Services, but now the issue becomes the process is broken, but she's also a part of the broken process because she expects someone to be put on the Board of Social Services for someone who we didn't get 30 days notice. We got last night's notice.
Joe, let's just clarify. I have no choice but to be part of the broken process when I didn't even know these nominations were coming to the floor tonight, or this morning, until Monday. So,
And I didn't know if you were a person put on the Board of Social Services until,
This is why my first
and I didn't know yours until last night.
Exactly, because you know what, I have to run around.
But you can't have it both ways.
Oh, I can, Joe, and I'll tell you why. My first motion of today was to completely table all of these nominations, because I wanted a more transparent process. When that motion didn't pass, I have no alternative but to be part of your system and your process, because that's the right thing to do for the people of Burlington County.
Well, you're the part of the process now and today, but the last 2 years, you've been voting yes for these people all the time.
When we had 30 days notice.
We just instituted 30 days notice this month.
We're in 5 months' notice right now.
It just seems that you want to be conveniently vote when time is convenient for you. I don't agree with the outcome. That's the situation.
That's the problem. I mean, I need time to review and vet these people. It's the right thing to do for the people that we represent.
Any other? Roll call, vote by name.
Freeholder Belgard.
Arnold Fishman.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Sean Early.
Freeholder Howard.
Early.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Fishman.
And Director Gargano.
Sean Earl. At this point, we'll move on to nominations and elections to the Burlington County Planning Board. Do we have any nominations?
Director, at this time, I'd like to submit the names of James Williams, Kevin Brown, Michael Locatella, and Sandy Henry.
Any other?
I will note that for these, I actually serve as the alternate to the planning board from the Freeholder board. So I have served with James Williams and Kevin Brown. They do a fine job on the board. Michael Locatelli and Sandy Henley, I received both of their resumes on request yesterday.
Any other? A yes would be for the 4. A no would be if you want to pull somebody out.
Freeholder Belgard.
Yes is named.
Freeholder Donnelly.
Names is read.
Freeholder Howard.
Names is read.
Freeholder Schwartz.
As read.
And Director Gargano.
Yes on Williams, Locatelli, and Henley, and I'll abstain on Kevin Brown. Move on to item N, nominations from the press, or questions from the press, I'm sorry. If you have any nominations. Okay. Okay, thank you. Public comment, we had one. Hal? And we'll let you go first since you signed up, and then we'll go on to our process council.
I should not take a full 5 minutes. First of all, I'd like to praise the members of the Freeholder board here for the work that they've done over both you and your predecessors over the last 15, 20 years for the park system that we have here in Burlington County. Starting with Smithville and all of the other parks along the way purpose. I'd like to just suggest here that Burlington County apply for its share of the state monies that were recently approved by the voters of the state of New Jersey there for continued open space and for also historic preservation. And in listening to the comments this morning here, I would just make a suggestion that you consider when you have nominees for positions there, that the resumes of all the nominees be provided to all members of the Freeholder board in 30 days in advance, and not just 1 or 2 days before, even if it's a reappointee, as in the case of this gentleman.
Thank you, sir.
Bill Wolf, Borden County. When I first got married, we bought a house out in North Hanover, and the reason was the landscape, the county's commitment to open space, rural agricultural nature of the place, enlightened land use planning. At that time, Burlington County certainly led New Jersey and perhaps the Northeast in terms of progressive land use planning. There was strong expressions of public support for land use planning. You were right on the periphery of the Pinelands. these are important issues. I've heard nothing, not a word, not one word about what Carlton said today about needing a champion for the Pinelands. We got bickering, partisan or whatever. I don't know what parties you're in, but it was childish. It's an embarrassment. You were given the opportunity, and you were given informed, impassioned arguments, well stated by people as to why you should slow down. You were given the opportunity not to blow your own feet off, and you pulled the trigger for no reason whatsoever. You pulled yourself into a nasty political battle, and you proved yourselves. I'm trying to think of a nice word. I can't. All right, and so I didn't follow your debate over these nominees for 6 months. I participated at the Pinelands Commission. I participated at the state level. I'm a Burlington County resident. I was completely unaware of all this debate that you guys have had. If this were a development application or an ordinance, regardless of the history of the debate, I'd be given an opportunity for first reading. I'd be able to review the issue, evaluate the merits, submit written comments, speak in public, have the details. I'd have a process, and then you would have a vote. That's why you have a two-step process for anything that's meaningful. A Pinelands Commissioner is extremely meaningful, and you treated it like, not to denigrate the social service applications, you treated it like like the bathroom cleaner. You can't do that, and you should just be ashamed of yourselves.
Thank you. Sir?
Well, just a few things to follow up on this prior conversation. The first is that of those of you who voted against changing the process, I didn't hear anybody try to justify it. All I heard was trying to accuse Freeholder of crimes. I don't think it can be justified. It's not a necessity. It's not written in stone. The second is your characterization of this process that some of you made is not correct. I have the minutes of the July 9th meeting. I think these are your minutes, and I hope you believe they're true because you can subsequently approve them. And it says Freeholder Schwartz announced that the State Pinelands Commission member Sean Erlin appointed by the Freeholders and his term is expired. It's not grammatical. And his term is expiring on July 27, 2014. I think the sentence should have said she announced that his term was expired. Freeholder Schwartz announced that she will be nominating Garfield DeMarco at the next meeting to take that position and highlighted Mr. DeMarco's background and experience. That's it. That's all that happened at the meeting. She did not make his nomination. You did not vote on his nomination, according to your own minutes. Then it disappears completely until Monday afternoon, when the topic is in your minutes, and your office refuses to say whether Sean Erlin was being renominated or whether anybody else was being nominated. That's incomprehensible. You can't say, on the one hand, it's obvious that Sean was up, that he was the guy, when your own public affairs person won't even acknowledge that he's up, that he's being considered. It doesn't work. And then finally, again, not a word about the Pinelands, not a word of support for the Pinelands, not a word of care about the Pinelands. It seemed to be all about the personalities. I hope before this meeting is over, you will take the opportunity, each of you or you collectively, to say that you do expect your representative. It's not about one vote. It's not just about the pipeline vote. It's about the whole attitude a person brings to this role on behalf of the public on the Pinelands Commission. We have not seen the attitude of a champion. We have not seen the attitude of someone who loves the Pinelands and makes clear, sees his job as protecting the Pinelands through the legal process of the Pinelands Commission and the Comprehensive Plan. I hope before this meeting is over, you'll take a chance to say that to us.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Yep. Sorry, you're next. Sorry.
Becky Free, Bordentown, New Jersey. I am more angry about the process than I am about Erlin being reappointed. I wasn't in favor of his reappointment because I have followed what has happened at the commission level. But I am so angry. This county and the Pinelands doesn't just belong to you. It belongs to us. And when I called and tried to find out who the nominee was, nobody would tell me. That gives the appearance of a secret. This is a process that does not support public participation. And I love the things that are positive in Burlington County, but I discussion about the fact that a member of the public wants to understand what's being proposed and wants to participate in an informed way, and then is told that they can't know the name of the nominees who represent us, all of us, whether we support different development in the Pinelands or open space. I would be equally mad if I was in favor of Mr. Erlin and was not allowed to know his name was on the agenda. It's not transparent. You can't claim it's transparent by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm sorry, I am just so angry right now that that whole discussion became so cut and dry when it's not. It's so clear to me and all my friends and anybody who lives in this county that we weren't allowed to participate right now. And I don't know how it was done before, but this is a terrible process. It has to change.
Sure.
Doug O'Malley, Garmin, New Jersey Director. I don't know if I can say it better than what Becky said and Carlton and Bill said, but I will say this. This is over 1 million acres that the Pinelands Commission deals with. The active role and vote of the Burlington County representative is critical. And the fact that it clearly seems that members of the Freeholder Board knew that Sean Erlin was going to be renominated, and I kind of also assumed the public knew that was going to happen. It's galling to me because the public did not know. As I said before, even in Trenton, when you walk into the room, you know what is on the agenda and who is being nominated and who is not being nominated. We did not know that as members of the public until Mr. Erlin's name was mentioned minutes before the vote. So honestly, I don't know how members of the board can say that this process is open and fair. Quite frankly, it's a disgrace to Mr. Erlin not to give members of the public the opportunity to weigh in on a nominee. So I don't really know what else to say other than to kind of repeat some of the statements that have been said before, and to say that really every member here that came out expected more. Expected an active debate, expected a moment to comment and actually have the preparation, at least a day or two. I don't think that's asking too much, ideally much more. Again, members of the legislature gave ample time. The Pinelands Commission gives ample time. There's no reason why the Freeholders Board can't emulate open government. This is not open government, this is bad government. And quite frankly, this wouldn't pass muster and tread. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm a resident of Medford Lakes, Margo Pellegrino. I'm sorry I was late. I made a phone call yesterday to ask that this hopefully be tabled because I thought this was also pretty lame that something would come up that is so important to nominate and elect the same day a commissioner for the Pinelands, among other things. I don't know who ever votes on candidates when they just find out about it for the first time 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 minutes or 30 seconds before they have to vote on them. And who I forget who it was, I'm so sorry, I forget who it was I spoke with at great length on the phone yesterday, who said, well, they might not even vote on this. And I said, well, I'm not ready to, I'm not going to sit here in my house and hope or go out and surf and expect that they'll do the right thing. As far as I'm concerned, I saw 2 people up here do the right thing. And then I heard this debate about, she's part of the broken process. She's part of the... You know what? I don't really care what the excuse is. It's a messed up process, and you're cotton picking out of your minds if you think that this is the right way to do things. The public should know. The Pinelands Commission is the public trust. It doesn't, and he's right. This isn't belong to just you guys. This is a countywide issue. This is more than a countywide issue. And we need someone out there who really understands the whole mission of the Pinelands Commission and the whole comprehensive management plan and why we do what we do. And your record, always wonderful. Burlington County gets all these accolades, but if what is going on in this country is a pile of poo as far as our land management goes, and you're the little cherry on top, I'm sorry, relative to everything else, you're just not as bad. Because I paddled around Hocus Creek. I can tell you that of all the places, I just for the record, I paddled in some of the most polluted
bodies of water in this country. The one that sent me to the hospital with an infection was the Rancocas River. What are we doing for storm management? What have you done for storm water management in addition to your open space, which we need more of, not less? You know, what have you done with sewer plant upgrades? I mean, I don't know, maybe you have done wonderful things, but our water is in a horrible, horrible state. And the Pinelands protects water. That is what it does very, very well. I can blindfold you and paddle you on the Rancocas, and then take you on the Volga or the Batsto or even the Wading, and you will smell the difference. And you need someone on that commission who is going to take that mission to heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Cindy Richards, again. I think we're going in a deep and difficult direction, and I don't think any of us want to do that, especially when this is Thanksgiving and we need to understand what our blessings are. And among our blessings are the Pinelands. I think we all have a very deep and strong commitment for that. The definition I've been told of what politics is when two people get together. And that means P with a small p. Just as a little demonstration model, 4 of our most impressive governors, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. The 2 Republicans, Tom Kean and Christine Todd Woodman, whom we know was the Environmental Protection Agency Director for George Bush. And we have James Florio, who I mentioned already, as well as Brendan Byrne, for whom we have a state park name. All 4 of them got together and signed a letter and sent it to the Pinelands Commission for the public record right before all public comment was closed. It was not politics to them. It was collaboration, it was cooperation. They felt that it was very much important that the pipeline be denied because the pipeline and the vehicle by which this was going to be voted on with the Pinelands Commission did not follow the comprehensive management plan. There are some, such as Mr. Irwin, who believe that it did. As it's been mentioned many times, there were month after month after month of meetings. Most of us have attended them. We also attended the public meeting, which went on from 5 o'clock to after midnight. 150 people spoke, representing various interests and vested interests. Almost every one of us here is a resident of Burlington County. We feel very strongly for the quality of life that we have here. Yesterday, Eric was very kind to spend a half an hour with me to explain the process, which has been criticized. I do understand there are different points of view here, and I think that is something that you need to resolve as an action plan on your own part. However, we need to take a look at where we're going with the preservation of lands in Burlington County, and Eric also told me that Burlington County is the 5th most protected organization or county in the United States for protected land. And I'm going to give you a clap for that because that's remarkable. Preserving land, as we know from public question number 2, 65% of New Jersey voters supported that. It's something that each one of us is committed to doing. However, as a main component of preservation is protection. And Mr. Fishman has a deep commitment, as Mr. Montgomery has said, to the protection of the Pinelands. Putting a pipeline through the Pinelands is not the right way to go. And unfortunately, Mr. Irwin disagrees with that, and that is his opinion. We can only hope that the Pinelands commissioners, others, will continue to reject that because it is not a good idea. So once again, thank you very much for people's time today. We're all busy. I appreciate your forbearance and listening to each one of them. And happy Thanksgiving to each one of us. And I think we need to, once again, focus on our blessings and understand that the Pinelands must be protected.
Anyone else? Sir.
I have a question. Why is it? Why didn't she delay? Why is it? Seems to me it's just an innocent. But extending it for a week so they could have a little venting would be a good idea. Why didn't you do it?
May we have your name, please?
Oh, my name is Laird Holby. I'm a resident of Medford, New Jersey. I have a home, Sandtown Road.
Thank you, sir. We're going to be rolling right into our freeholder comment. I'm sure that question will be answered as we move forward here.
You can't answer it now.
Well, no, I think what we've basically done is that I think what we've been saying is that this has been going on for 5 months. It was, as the minutes were read, I think you read those minutes, and it was brought up at that point. This isn't something that just popped up today. This is something that's been ongoing since summer. So I think it's time that we're at that point where we cast our votes. And that's my opinion, and we have different opinions on this board right now. So, but I think this isn't something that just popped up today. This is something that was involved in the summertime when there were people brought in for nomination that wanted to be nominated and didn't want to be nominated. And I think we've gotten to the point where it's just time to take action. That's my answer. Anyone else?
Could I just clarify one point?
We go one time through. Ma'am?
Thank you. Fran Brooks, Tabernacle. Setting aside the issue of the pilots and the particular nominees, I sat there as a citizen, and it made me so, I'm actually responding emotionally, and usually I'm fairly intellectual in my approach to issues. I'm particularly policy-oriented and interested in making sure that good policy gets implemented. But I'm sitting here and observing a group of people, and I'm embarrassed for them. I'm saddened by the process. A he-she-it process. Instead of making the appointment process as clear as possible and acting as accountable as possible, as transparent as possible, you look like children up here, and I don't like to say that because I respect all of you for the roles that you play and the complex work that you do. But I can't tell you how bad you look fighting amongst yourselves about a process that really is very simple. You either make the information available to the public or you hide the information. You either follow a 30-day notice process or you don't follow it. It's really very simple, and I think it does you such a disservice. It's hard for people to respect you in the position that you hold and to respect you as individuals when you act like this and when you violate a process that is really the people's process. And I really think that you really should, subsequent to today, should get together and really get on the same page and come to a unanimous decision about how this appointment process will be handled in the future. As a citizen, I deeply request that you do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I'm Wendy Brophy, and I'm from Tabernacle. And just a citizen, like a lot of people here, don't have, a lot of legal, education. But I do understand processes, and I understand that the process here was not right. It was just not right. And the two ladies here were trying to make it right. And when you guys voted, you guys couldn't even look at the audience. All three of you had your faces down in the paper, and you took minutes before anyone rose their head. That's, pictures through our eyes speak volumes of what that says. You didn't even have respect of the people that came out here. My God, I'm going to be in foot surgery in a week. I'm going to be off my feet for 3 months. I am trying to get my life in order so that my husband can carry on with me, in the house. And it's the day before Thanksgiving. And what am I doing? This is my priority. When we go on vacation, and we come home, and we hit just past Leisure Town, and we live off of Syrian Town. I don't know if you even know that. Has anyone ever spent any time in the here? We roll down the windows. I don't care if it's January, we just got that a dive trip, and it's 14 below. We roll down the windows, and you can smell it. People that live in the pine barrens, they live on tune for the vet from Mount Laurel. I turn on to Suey Place, and it will open minutes. They're pampered indoor cats. If you ever get lost, Mom's trying to tell you this is the smell you should look for. It's breathtaking. It's special. I grew up in Mount Laurel in a log cabin. We moved around the country a bit. And when we came back to the pond lands. This is where my husband and I as kids enjoyed so much. And it's just sad that we're just tossing this important decision aside. Like, what are you going to order for lunch? I'm just embarrassed. I'm very angry. I'm very upset because I've been following this whole pipeline nonsense for a year and a half, and it just seems to be this bureaucracy, one meeting at a time, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over, where so many people come out, and then you put your heads down and you vote. You can't vote so no. I'm just so disappointed. You know, to spend one day in a pine band, Harrisonville Pond, Tony Trail, Wading River, Basto River. It's unbelievable. You know, if people would just, pardon my word, shut up and listen. I live in beautiful acreage in Tabernacle, and I go out and have my coffee, and you know, someone would say, it's just the sticks, it's just trees. But you know what? If you just shut up and listen, there's things going on right in my backyard. People don't even realize. The birds and the flora and the fauna that happen all the time if you just shut up and listen. And listen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on to comments by our freeholders. Joe Belgard.
Thank you. So first I want to thank everybody who came out, especially the day before Thanksgiving at a unique time to this meeting to be part of the process. I'm very disappointed that the process, as I see it today, was broken. You know, I tried in my way to mend the broken process by making a motion to table not once but twice. I absolutely think that it's important for the public to be able to be part of the process. I've said that since I joined this board. And I think that the public's voices were not heard today. As I mentioned, I did not even know of the nomination of Sean Erlin for the Pinelands Commission until I walked into this room today. I think that the process was broken with regard to all of the nominations that occurred today. But at the very least, I was able to obtain the resumes of the other nominees. For some reason, with regard to the Pinelands Commission and Sean Erlin, I did not have that opportunity. And to not be able to table and to fully evaluate a nominee, not only for me as a freeholder, but for the public, to be able to be a part of that is really discouraging and very upsetting to me. And I hope that we can use today as an opportunity to fix this process going forward, so that we can fully evaluate a nominee for any position, whether it's the Pinelands, the Board of Social Services, the library, whatever the case may be, because it's what's right for the people of Burlington County to know that there is a proper procedure and process and evaluation in place. With regard to the Pinelands, I think it's absolutely imperative that we have a champion representing us from Burlington County on the Pinelands Commission. You know, growing up in South Jersey and actually going to college in the Pinelands and now enjoying the Pinelands with my family and my young children, you know, I see the values of it, but I also know just how important it is for our aquifer, for the water that we drink, the air that we breathe. And to not appoint somebody that is a champion to the Pinelands is a true disservice for the people not only in Burlington County, but around the state. Now, I don't know if Sean Erlin will not be a champion, because I have not had the opportunity to evaluate him. And again, that's a shame, and that's a problem because the process is broken. And I would have liked to have had that opportunity to have made a better decision. Perhaps I would have voted for Sean Erling if I had had that opportunity, but I was not afforded that. Moving on, I would just like to, on a happier note, thank the board for recognizing Pancreatic Awareness Month. My aunt is actually one of the few who has survived pancreatic cancer, and I think when we can bring it to the public's attention, it's certainly a stride in the right direction to hopefully preventing and coming up with solutions for pancreatic cancer in the future. And then finally, I would just like to wish everybody on the board, all the folks that work so hard for the county, and everybody who came out to join us today in the public, a very happy Thanksgiving.
Bill Schwartz?
Yes, I'll go bear with me. After hearing all of the comments, I sat here and I wrote a motion, and I hope I have the language of it correctly. So I'm going to make a motion again after hearing all of your comments that yours, hopefully the English is correct. I make a motion that the names of all nominees for all county board positions be publicly posted on the county's website and advertised in the press 30 days to being on the freeholder agenda for a vote, and that furthermore the public be given the opportunity to put forth names for consideration for all of these positions.
I'll second the motion. I think that it might need to be tweaked a little bit down the line, but I will second it.
Under the rules of the board, we don't do motions from freeholder comment. So we can have a conversation about that if we want to move it as a board forward in the future.
I would like to then make sure that it's on for next meeting, and that it be put forth, I will put it forth as a formal motion to be voted.
We'll have that
And this
conversation.
will give us 2 weeks to think about it, but basically that is the wording. Amy may want to, or some of the other members may want to tweak it, but please, this is the motion that I will be putting forth. I think in order to have democracy in action, it can't just be the freeholders doing things, it has to also come from the public. And that the public should have the opportunity to put forth names, and that this should be advertised and should be publicly posted 30 days prior to any vote. And again, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving.
Throw it down.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Same.
My only comment will be is that I don't think, when you look at Burlington County, and I think you mentioned it, is that we are a group that truly wants preservation. And I think we move forward with that. We show that we do. We put our dollars into that process, and we preserve hundreds of thousands of acres of land in Burlington County. I think Sean Erling is someone, when the facts are put before him, will make a decision. If there's another process that goes forward with that pipeline, I'm sure there's going to be the process where he's going to get to listen to those facts and figures and make the decision and make the right one. At that point, I wish everybody a Thanksgiving, and I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion by Freeholder Howard, second by Freeholder Donnelly. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it.